Star Wars 7x7 episode 2536. So we are here with a Spinner Sunday episode, and as I was talking about Baraka in yesterday's episode, the Bad Batch briefing for Battle Scars, it occurred to me that I had not actually checked out the Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple series that was a prelude to the Jedi Fallen Order video game, and so I thought, well, heck, let's see what that's about. And it is really a crazy, fascinating, mystery wrapped within an enigma situation, and we'll pull it apart a little bit here. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple is a 5-issue limited series which introduces us to Cere Junda, who is the Jedi that we find in the Jedi Fallen Order game with Cal Kestis, or that he finds. I actually haven't done, the game, the playthrough, the walkthrough, what have you, but that's coming. And we see her in her Padawan days with Eno Cordova, who is her master. And the story opens up with a bit of a conflict to introduce us to Cere in her Padawan days, to show us her impulsiveness and her tendency to rush to judgment, as it were. And so this prologue basically is a bit of a setup in the sense that it's supposed to, frame what's going to be a larger idea that happens later on in the series. So they're on a planet to resolve a conflict between some monks and some Trandoshans, and they're arguing, and of course the presumption is that the Trandoshans are lying and up to no good, and Cordova is like, hey, let's all just take a moment, because he's trying to resolve things peacefully, and he takes these monks off to the side to try to talk with them about what's going on, and in the meantime, Padawan is left with the Trandoshans, which maybe isn't the greatest idea anyway. And unfortunately, Cere gets involved, or inserts herself into a challenge to the lead Trandoshan's authority, and there gets to be a fight and whatnot and blah blah blah. And it turns out that the monks actually stole money from the Trandoshans, although the Trandoshans were going to use the money to do something nefarious anyway, so it was rather complicated and didn't look like what it was on its face, and they have to go back and bring Padawan Cere in front of the Jedi Council to talk about their mission, which includes talking to Mace Windu and Yoda, and the Elder Master Cordova has to remind the council respectfully, and yeah, there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek and sarcasm in this, that sometimes ancient Jedi texts talked about instinct and judgment as ways that the Force is communicating with us before people are actually learned or trained to understand how the Force really works and be able to listen to really understand what it is the Force is saying. People are learned, listen to me. Did I really just say that? Anyway, yeah. And so Mace Windu gives him a respectfully right back, and they, tongue-in-cheek on this series of comics is actually really well done in a lot of places. There's some great humor in it. So kudos to Matthew Rosenberg, who is the writer of this series, and gives Yoda lines like, after sending them off to their next mission, saying, perhaps refrain from hitting anyone else, your Padawan will. And it's so well done. And there's a droid, N3LO or N3LO, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And N3LO has some fantastic, just flatly delivered dialogue as well. That droid comes back from a battle and announces, "All of you who said we would be slaughtered, most of us were not." And that was, I think, the line that really got me, but there's a ton for that character. It's just really, really awesome. And so the main plot takes them to this planet on Tatho, which has mostly joined the Republic, except the nation state of Thylar, which has not. But there's apparently some temple that the Da Corporation wants access to, and has been given permission to go to it for all intents and purposes. But basically, the way things start out, it looks like the Jedi have been suckered into acting as a show of force to the Phylari to, give these Dog Corporation people access to the temple. They go roll in to meet the Phylari in armored tanks, basically, and the armored convoy is attacked. And Master Cordova is thought to be dead, and Padawan Junda is taken prisoner, and yeah, it gets very complex from there. So initially you think that it's the Phylari that are attacking them, at least that's what they're trying to make you think. But then it turns out that one of the attackers had been killed when they were defending themselves and was wearing a uniform of the Da Corporation. So now it seems like a false flag operation to try to trick the main on Totho government into just saying, all right, that's it, we have to go to war with the Phylari. And Junda has been taken prisoner, well, sort of, or at least, captured and pulled away by the Phylari, and the Phylari convinced Junda that the Untotho government and the Da Corporation are the real villains and ultimately get her to fight with them. But they're saying they just want to protect this temple. There's this temple that's on their land that everybody wants to investigate and check out, and we don't know where it came from and we don't know what the deal is with it, but it's on our land, and we're just going to protect it because it's here and this is us. And so that is what they're saying, but it turns out that maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that as well. And this series has been out for a while, so we're full spoiler here, but it turns out Cordova wasn't killed at all. He's alive. He was rescued by the people in the convoy and taken to the Da Corporation CEO's personal Bacta tank to be healed. So yeah, typical Star Wars. If you don't actually see the dead body, then yeah, you can't necessarily presume they're dead. And so it turns out that the Da Corporation apparently hired local people to act as their security forces, so local Ontothans could be wearing those uniforms, except it was Phylari that they hired, apparently, or at least so we're being told. So it was actually Phylari local security forces acting on behalf of the Da Corporation, but still attacking this convoy to make it seem like the Da Corporation was trying to create a false flag operation and make things awful. Yeah, it gets super twisty and complicated, basically. But the Phylari get the war that they are looking for, apparently, even though, they are saying, no, we're not looking for a war, but we are looking for a war. And we know what the deal is with this temple, by the way. We're not just protecting it, and we just weren't quite ready to use it. But ultimately, we want to destroy the Ontothans and take over this planet, and then kick the Republic off of it and be separated from the Republic, because we never wanted to be part of the Republic in the first place. And I'm saying it's twisty, but I gotta tell you, Matthew Rosenberg does execute it very well. Just the layers peeling away from this onion. And the events with the monks and the Trandoshans definitely kind of inform the rationale, and Cordova and Junda come back and talk about this from time to time as they're trying to figure this out. But meanwhile, in this temple, Cordova has been seeing some unique writings on the temple walls and is trying to record them for posterity and bring them back to the Jedi to see if there are secrets to the temple that could be translated. Whatever energy weapon it is that they bring out, the Phylari bring out, is some crazy kind of blaster that they are completely outnumbered, and yet they're able to turn the tide against the superior forces of the Da Corporation bearing down on them. So whatever weapon situation this was pretty significant, except that because they've raised the stakes and because the Republic finally shows up in the form of Jedi Masters Mace Windu and Luminari Undula and a couple others, yeah, they now take the fight to the Phylari, and the temple is damaged, and the energy spheres all go energy spheres that they have in there. Somehow, we don't know what the deal is with them just yet, but it's unstable and everything goes kablooey, and there's not much left. Except apparently there is something left and some survivors left, because as this series has been unfolding, there's been sort of a years later prologue in every issue which features the second sister, one of the Inquisitors, and the second sister is actually prominently featured in the Jedi Fallen Order game, where they arrive on Ontatho and they're trying to pacify it, except for this one cell that has been holding out and causing all of the stormtroopers problems. So the Inquisitor shows up with her purge troopers to find out what's up, and they lay waste to the rest of the joint. And they find the data pad that Cordova had apparently left behind when he'd been blindsided by the Filari leader at one point. And somehow this is leading the second sister to realize that this has something to do not just with Ser Junda, but with Cal Kestis. We get Cal Kestis' name dropped in this one as well. And I should say too that the whole events of this series are events that ultimately lead the Council to elevate Ser Junda from the rank of Padawan to the rank of Jedi Knight. And they also mentioned the fact that there was a moment where she was able to commune with Force-sensitive children on Ontatho as well as part of this whole thing. So between this and also the High Republic story arc that we talked about last week with Keeve Trennis, it does seem like the notion of Jedi trials is a little bit slippery in the sense that, yes, you can construct Jedi trials for someone, like I think even Vernestra Rwoh talked about them in A Test of Courage, and said like they're different for different people, and it is designed to test multiple aspects of a Jedi's skill. But there's also a lot of wiggle room in the sense that, when they think somebody's ready to take the trials, if there is something going on where, it's a significant event and, all of their skills are being tested, it may be enough to say, hey, that was a lot of crazy stuff that you just went through. So we think that counts. And so, yeah, there you go. You're being elevated. So that happened with Vernestra Rwoh and with Keeve Trennis and happened with Ser Junda as well. And so there you go. That's a Spinner Sunday rundown on the prequel to the Jedi Fallen Order video game, which was Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple. And for what it's worth, we say Dark Temple, or it says Dark Temple, but no indication that it's a Sith thing or anything like that. Don't know. But maybe there will be something about that in the Jedi Fallen Order game, which, I'm sure that information's out there, and yeah, maybe we'll be talking about it soon. But for now, that is going to do it for this episode of the show, and it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it as always, and may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.